Yeah, loud and clear. Yep. And is James Davison called in too? Yep, and Joe Scarborough is second, and then Glyn. Okay? Okay. Roger, thanks.
Stay tuned now for the Racing for Heroes radio show with host Brett Morash on 1460 WBOX.
All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Racing for Heroes Radio. Today, I'm actually calling in from Racing for Heroes headquarters in Alton, Virginia. And if you're watching online right now, you can see the 773 late modified car sitting right behind me that's getting built out right now. We're going to actually be talking to a couple of late modified guys in a little bit. Before I go any further, I really want to also remind everyone this September is Suicide Prevention Month. If you know someone who's having a tough time, especially during all of the COVID stuff, you know.
Oh. Hello?
Hey, guys, it's Brett. I dropped. Hello?
Hey, James.
It's Brett. I dropped. Oh, hey, everyone. I'm so sorry. I'm having technical difficulties out here in rural Virginia. But that's what we like about Racing for Heroes, because anything can go wrong, and it's all about resiliency and bouncing back. As I was talking about, with everything going on with COVID-19 right now, it's, a tough time for everyone. So please reach out to your buddies, check in on them. And if you think someone's having a hard time, just pick up the phone and call. But moving right along, today our first guest is James Davison, JD, who is driver of the 53 Cruise Racing for Heroes Rick Ware racing car. And this weekend, at Sprint Cup, he will be in the Bass Pro Shops NRA night race on my birthday tomorrow, September 19th. So without further ado, JD, you're on the line?
Yeah. How are you?
JD, I'm doing great, and thank you for being on the show. And, a couple days ago we had another race car driver, Colin Garrett, who's driving the 26 car in the Xfinity Series, and he's from down here in Virginia. But you don't sound like you're from the United States. Where are you from, JD?
I'm from Melbourne, Australia, so a very long way away, about 10,000 miles away.
That's just a little ways away. So, and James, we're super happy to have you, and I'm super excited about you being in the Racing for Heroes car. And I think you actually have like a personal connection to the military through your grandfathers. Is that correct?
Yeah. So both of my grandfathers, one of them flew for the RAF during World War II, flew Spitfires from 1940 to 1945. He won the Distinguished Flying Cross twice, so he shot down over 12 aircraft, and actually was shot down himself over occupied France in 1943, close to Dieppe up north, and over the course of 2 months he was MIA and managed to escape through the help of the French resistance. They got him over the Pyrenees Mountains into Spain to the British consulate in Barcelona, and then they took him to Gibraltar, which of course is a British-occupied territory on the coast of Spain, and then they got him back to the UK, and he continued flying in the war, D-Day onwards, and actually landed on the Autobahn at the end of the war, and was chatting to the German pilots of the Luftwaffe when there was, peace and a ceasefire. So pretty incredible, the life that he lived. And then also my grandfather, Lex Davison, who raced cars, prior to that, he was part of an anti-tank regiment in the north of Australia during 1942. And thankfully, I guess, the Americans defeated the Japanese invasion with the Battle of the Coral Sea, and as a result of that, that protected Australia, and my grandfather was then discharged from the anti-tank regiment. So
Amazing.
Yeah, definitely got some military history in my family.
And it sounds like that's where you got your need for speed. So let's talk about racing. So tell us what's going on this weekend.
Yeah, so I'm driving the Cruise Associates Racing for Heroes 53 car in the NASCAR Cup Series at Bristol, which will be a bucket list experience, a race that I guess all of us have watched on TV since we were quite young, and a race I never thought I'd really be doing. I came to the States to be an IndyCar driver, and Eric Cruz has been a very loyal supporter of mine for about 8 years now, and helped me compete in the Indy 500 6 times. Eric and I have a great friendship as well as a kind of sponsor relation, and Eric races himself, as you're aware, and I help him with his racing. So, yeah, it's also great to have the Racing for Heroes on the car. I met you guys, obviously, during the summer when we were out at VIR having a fun day. And, it'll be a pretty crazy experience. Not, being realistic, it's not a situation that I can win with. I mean, I'm a rookie going into this race, having never driven the track before, and I've just got to take the green flag, and that's been the situation for me throughout this year, or the second half of this year, where I've made my debut in NASCAR, period. On the ovals. It's been in the Cup Series on all these tracks that I've never driven before, but it is what it is. Beggars can't be choosers, and I've just got to look to run all 500 laps and try and bring it home inside the top 30, which is like a win for our little teams at the back. Our budgets are a tenth of the size of the big ones, so our goals have got to be realistic, and just running around and gaining experience for the long haul, and getting the the sponsors airtime is what it's all about as well.
That's amazing. And listen, Mr. Cruz is a great supporter of Racing for Heroes, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be on that car this weekend as well. So certainly a shout out to Cruz Associates. They're just an amazing group of people. So
I certainly agree with you.
And JD, so this is a night race, though, right? So, that is a whole different host of challenges. Can you tell us a little bit about night racing?
Yeah, look, it really is easier because the heat factor goes down a bit. These cars get very hot when the sun hits them. I actually did the Daytona road course race, which was replacing the traditional Watkins-Glen road course race. As a result of the COVID restrictions in New York State, it got moved to Daytona. And there was a red flag, about a third of the way through the race. And all the drivers got out, and I was chatting to a couple of them, like Jimmy Johnson, Matt DiBenedetto. And Matt DiBenedetto actually told me it was the hottest that he has ever felt it inside of a stock car ever. So it just goes to show how hot it can get during the daytime. So nighttime, for me going into these kind of races, having never done them before, not being able to gain a degree of specific fitness during the practice sessions prior to the race. Of course, there's no practice sessions. I'm embracing the fact that it's at night. And it also looks cool, like under lights, it certainly feels faster at night. The fans in the stand with their cameras and so on, it all just kind of gets accentuated and makes it a better spectacle. So I'm cool with it. It's certainly hard to fall asleep until the late hours of the night or early hours of the morning when you're in a race car for 4 hours up until 11 o'clock at night. You can imagine how much adrenaline's going through your body for hours afterwards.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be cool.
Well, James, listen, I want to thank you. I know we have 3 guests on the show today, so I don't mean to rush you, but I'm so looking forward to tomorrow night, and I ask all of our viewers to watch tomorrow night, and it's going to be on is NBC? Is that who's showing it tomorrow?
Yeah, actually, as you're asking me, I'm pulling it up on the NASCAR app right now, and yes, 7:30 p.m. on NBC Sports.
All right, 7:30 p.m. Outstanding. Okay, great. Well, James, thank you very much, and I appreciate your time. And with that, I think we're going to our next caller. Okay, awesome. All right, and that was, of course, Colin Hayes, Land Down Under. So thank you again, JD. So our next caller is really a long-time person in the Racing for Heroes universe, Joe Scarborough. Joe is a retired Coast Guard, boarding team guy, man about town, drives everything with four wheels and an engine, and is also an author of You Want to Race. So, Joe, thank you for coming on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
And Joe, I don't say that, completely jokingly. Like, you really have driven pretty much everything when it comes to four wheels and an engine. So you can tell us a little bit about that.
Kind of anything I could fit in. I wasn't genetically superior as a race car driver, being 6'2". I remember trying to sit in an Indy car one time, and I got into it about mid-shin, and that was over.
Yeah, that's tough.
Did a little formula stuff in schools. I went to Skip Barber School, so I have been in a little Formula Ford or Formula Dodge, I think they were at that time, a little four-cylinder Formula car. But I started in karts. Oakland Valley, up by you guys, New York, was one of the first places I raced. And,
that's amazing. Where did you race up north there? Where was it? Anywhere in particular?
In karting, I ran Flemington while it was there, and New Egypt Speedway while it was paved. I ran Oakland Valley once or twice. Mahoning Valley ran go-karts a few times, and I did that pretty solid for about 3 years in my late teens, early 20s, kart racing with pretty good success. Won a bunch of races.
That's amazing. And
go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, no, please continue.
Most of the stuff I did, or most of the time in my early teens, were as a crew chief for my dad, who raced places like was White Lake Speedway then, but Bethel Motor Speedway. Raced at Wall Stadium, New Egypt when it was paved.
Oh, wow.
Evergreen in Pennsylvania. They were the primary places we raced, and then dabbled up in New England. And the Pocono Race of Champions was the big year on the big race every year for us on the 3/4 mile, which we were cursed there. nothing ever went right in that place.
No, that actually leads me to my next Joe Scarborough question, and I'd like to ask is, like, what was your worst breakdown story?
My worst breakdown? You mean like on the racetrack, or like when they canceled Who's the Boss? You mean?
No, let's stick with racing.
Okay. Worst breakdown. Well, one of the scariest ones. This is not all that long ago. It was within the last 10 years. We were coming down, going north on 81 with a 3,500 dually and a 48-foot enclosed trailer, coming back from a modified race at Motor Mile Speedway. And race went great. 75 laps, didn't touch a car. Pulled off a second-place finish on 7 cylinders, which was, wow. I was like, okay, we should buy lottery tickets today. We're lucky. And then on the way home, we were cruising up 81 and in the right lane, doing about 70 miles an hour. I just picked up a wicked vibration before I could really do anything about it. The left front tire on the hauler came apart. And it went off like a bomb. The last thing I remember seeing was the fender going over my head. It just blew the whole left front corner of the truck off. And the nose of the truck went up in the air. When it landed, we went for the right lane to the left shoulder, and it's 81. There was no guardrail. I wasn't gonna Darlington stripe the truck and put it back. We were gonna go down to the ditch. And this is 2:00 in the morning. So somehow managed to get the truck back over to the right. right shoulder where we stopped, and everybody was silent. And the first voice I heard was my spotter sitting in the back seat, who just in his very meek and meager voice went, "Are we dead?" And I was like, "We made it. We made it." But yeah, that was definitely the scariest moment I've had in motorsports. I think that was crazy.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. And it wasn't really even on the track. It was with the hauler. So how did you get out of that? Record show?
No, I used to joke about it, but it was serious. Like back in the 70s and the 80s, tow vehicles were not what they are today. Yeah. You just kind of swayed and wiggled your way down the highway. It was the most dangerous part of racing for me was getting to and from the racetrack.
No, it's like that Jim Croce Speedball Tucker song. With the no Jake breaks or anything like that. So, that's crazy. It's crazy. Hey, so, and I didn't want to miss out on this, Joe. You were actually in the Coast Guard, as I like to think of as sort of the little sister service of the Navy. But, obviously they're out there doing God's work every day. Tell us a little bit about your time in the Coast Guard.
It was so how I wound up in the Coast Guard, I'll tell you that story briefly. So I've been racing on and off, and racing kind of caught a lull for me. Very expensive. You gotta fund your way, and at least to get started, you gotta fund your way into it. But sure. I'd started a trucking business that was doing fairly well, and then the economy started kind of slowing down around 2001. Mm-hmm. I felt I had the gut feeling I got to get rid of it. Excuse me. So it was September 9th. I actually sold the company. September 10th, 2001, I delivered the last equipment, signed the contract, shook the man's hand, and walked away. And September 11th, for the first time in I don't know how long, I slept in. And I woke up and I flipped on the TV, and I just remember sitting up in bed saying, "Gee, what am I going to be when I grow up now?" And the trade center was being knocked down. I'm like, that's my calling. So I went through the enlistment process and found myself deployed a year later.
Wow.
So,
and you did boarding operations, right? Like that was a big piece of what you did.
I was in a port security unit. So in layman's terms, I was a fast boat operator. I drove in basically a 25-foot intercept boat. We did port security. Wow. So like incidents like, if you recall, the USS Cole, I mean, any service member doesn't forget that, but that was an instance where a Navy warship was tied up in port, and a civilian vessel came up, and it turned out it was explosive laden, and it did an extreme amount of damage and cost a bunch of lives. Anyway, the unit that I was in was basically the buffer that was supposed to be the warships and things like that from happening.
Yeah, and I think you guys supported. So I was on Barry, and we pulled into the United Arab Emirates.
I didn't do too much. I didn't really do boarding because I drove the boat. Somebody's got to drive the boat.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But I did that for several years, and then no, go ahead, please.
No, I was going to ask, and you've actually, again, we actually have one more caller in after you, Joe. You've actually been involved with Racing for Heroes for some time now. Can you tell us a little bit about your engagement with us?
Yeah, I got involved with Racing for Heroes. I kind of heard about it. I met up with Mikey Bach, Darren Mix, and Kurt Cook at a Christmas party actually, and just got to talking with those guys, and we just really, really hit it off. And I was kind of skeptical at first. Nonprofit organization, you never know what that's all about. But these guys, they're the real deal. There's no six-figure salaries. There's no salaries on Racing for Heroes whatsoever. But what they did was they invited me out because I'm, as well as being a race car driver and a boat operator in the Coast Guard, I'm a driving instructor. I've worked for many manufacturers for many, many years. General Motors primarily as a right seat instructor with their Corvette and Camaro programs and things like that. So Mike invited me out to one of the tactical classes they were doing as an instructor. And I started working with them doing that, and then I fell in love with it. I sold my house. I moved out by VIR. I told them, I said, I'm all in, and got to work on. There's like 100 vehicles up there that they use for training. I got to work on all of that stuff, and then when veterans would come in, work with them, and a lot of guys they kind of get lost out there spinning the wheels. They need a sense of purpose.
Yeah. No, and I think that's a big piece of what we do is trying to give folks task and purpose to get them pointed in, the right direction and build that kind of teamwork and camaraderie. So
exactly.
Yep. And so, Joe, listen, thanks. And I do want to also plug your book. You did write a book in this last thing. You Want to Race, right? And it's available on Amazon, right?
Yeah. You can buy it, and if you buy one, you'll be like one of 12 people that have.
No, I got one, so it's 13. Number 13. So.
13.
All right,
okay.
Joe, listen, thank you so much. I know we have a Glyn Nott coming on after, but Joe, listen, I'll see you again soon. Looking forward to catching up again, okay?
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. I'll talk to you soon, buddy. Be good.
All right, fantastic. Okay, great. Right. Okay, thank you, everyone. Hello, Glyn, are you there?
Yes, I am, Brent.
And Glyn, we thought we would play "O Canada" for you. I know it's not hockey, but it is your national anthem.
We have the national anthems every time we start a race up here.
Oh, I love it. And so I grew up near Boston, so I was very much used to hearing when the Montreal Canadiens would come down and play the Bruins, listening to "O Canada" as well as, obviously the American national anthem. So, and Glyn, thank you for being on the show today. And then real quick, I guess you're calling in today from Petty International Speedway, which is up in Brunswick, Canada. Is that right?
Yeah, up here in New Brunswick, River Glade, New Brunswick. Here we're in a bit of a rain out right now. Our race has been canceled. Our AMT modified race has been canceled for tonight, but we're carrying on with the Mike Stevens tomorrow, 150 tomorrow, and then we will race on Sunday here starting at 1 o'clock. The weather looks much better for the next 2 days. Yeah,
fantastic. And Glyn, you were Canadian Army for an entire career, right? That's kind of your background? Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, you turned a wrench. Can you tell us a little bit like how your military career went and some of the places that the Canadians deployed when you were with them?
Oh, definitely. Yes, I did 25 years as a vehicle tech, which is a mechanic. We worked on everything from chainsaws right up to the Leopard tanks and anything in between. Oh, wow. We traveled. I started here in New Brunswick, Canada after I graduated. Went right straight over to Cornwallis and then spent 5 years in Chilliwack where I met my family. And then I took them all over to Germany, where I actually was born, because I was the fourth generation in the military. And my son is now my eldest son is the Air Force in Greenwood, Nova Scotia, and he's carrying the family tradition along.
Outstanding, and he's Royal Canadian Air Force, right?
Yes, he is.
Okay, awesome.
Well, now that was the old school, but now it's called it's all under the cap.
Oh, yeah, it's Canadian Forces. Yeah. No, I know. It's super joint. And so, Glyn, tell us about what you're doing now. How did you get into what you're doing, and what's going on with the Canadian modified world?
Well, what we're trying to do up here right now is, with all my career, I was released medically from the military back a few years, about 10 years ago. And I went back and worked in civilian life in it for about 8 years, and it just didn't work out for me. So now what we're doing, and after a few years of getting away from racing and doing after 27 years, we decided that to return this year to promote a series which is our modified and get interest back into the racing and to our veterans and get them noticed up here when we're all suffering just the same as your troops are down there. They're correct. So we have great sponsors with us, and we have Canada Connect Wellness Center here in Oromocto, and here in Canada Connect all across the country. That's the same as what you guys do with helping them with finding doctors and programs. Helping them with medications, different therapies. We have Mind Shift up here that is associated with the mental side of PTSD and the traumatic brain injuries that all our troops go through. So I suffer from PTSD, and my wife has been a big supporter of mine, and she either male or female. We have them here that everybody doesn't discriminate against anybody. So Canada Connects is home with us, and they're a medical cannabis company that's up here. We have Crown Rush Control. You know all the salt and snow we get up here, and that we have Ford Fox Chevrolet here in Fredericton that's helping us out this year with both the division, and we are in the process right now of doing a driving experience with our veterans. And then I have a super late model that I'm getting together, working with the local racetrack down by my place, Speedway 660, and they have a side-by-side, so whether we can get the veterans into a car, and if they don't feel comfortable, I can take them out in the side-by-side and take them for a thrill ride.
Outstanding. And Glyn, we're actually at kind of the 2-minute point. So, one, I want to thank you for everything that you do up in Canada. I think you're obviously very much aligned with what we're doing at Racing for Heroes just south of your border. And hopefully, when COVID-19 goes away, we'll be able to have more partnerships.
100% there, Brett.
And Glyn, if someone wants to follow you, where's the best place for them to follow what you're doing and Team Nott, if you will?
They can go right to our AtlanticModifieds.com and find us on there, and they'll link us right to our business, which is Burn Enterprises, the company my wife started to help the veterans. And we also use the local businesses that are owned by veterans, and our complete staff, except for member, is all retired veterans, right from the flagman, general manager, tech guy, everything.
Outstanding. Well, Glyn, thank you for being on our show today, and good luck this weekend on the races that you guys are able to get in. Okay.
Thank you very much, Brett. Talk to you soon.
All right. And for our listeners, tomorrow night, September 19th, my birthday, but more importantly, the Bristol race at 7:30 on 4NBC. Watch the Racing for Heroes car, and of course, check us out on www.racingforheroes.org. And if you want to participate in a race right now, we have an online virtual 5K race where you can sign up. It'll be a big opportunity for you to race against